Hey, everybody. Good morning. Welcome to our very first episode of That Closing Bell, our brand new show here that I am wanting to do now from now on almost every Friday, where we will talk about this trading week in crypto, what happened on the markets. Well, as a matter of fact, not only crypto, what happened on all financial markets, what were the important events. We'll talk about important chart updates, the zones on certain charts that I'm currently watching. We're going to talk about news, especially also news event that are scheduled for the next week and what they are probably going to mean impact-wise for the cryptocurrency and so-called legacy market, so the stock markets and the Forex markets. And as always, when I do a show here, I think like this, you can probably see very good. You also have the opportunity to ask your questions. So if you have any charts, any questions regarding the financial markets, please just pop them into the chat. And then at the end of this show, we are going to have some time to talk about your questions and answer them. All right, so let's jump into the charts, I would say, and we'll start here with Bitcoin. And yeah, I think today what we really could say is Bitcoin a bit like the phoenix from the ashes. So yesterday, or as a matter of fact, the days before that, if we zoom in here a little bit on the daily candles, of the 6th of September, that it was, we saw the slump down under 19,000. We bottomed out yesterday or 2 days ago at around about 18,500 US dollars. Everybody thought we're already, okay, now it's happening. We are going to see a test of the new lows. And we're going to break through, probably see 15,000 or something like this. And yesterday, and that was actually kind of surprising on the day where the ECB in Europe here raised the interest rates in really a historic rate hike. We've never seen a large rate hike like this in the Eurozone. So we are now here at 1.25% in terms of interest rate, came from 0.5%. Nonetheless, we saw, especially in the late hours and then in the early morning hours during the Asian session here, really Bitcoin rising like crazy again. We are now at 20,700. And of course, probably for all you crypto enthusiasts out there, including myself, this is very, very good news, because we are still seeing, the crypto market is still alive. So let's have a look here what that really means. And the first thing I would say that falls into my eyes is, yeah, absolutely right, Lady Fox, you are there. That's really nice pump we are seeing there. Nonetheless, in the grand scheme of things, and I'm just looking here at the last, so to say, now almost 2 months, I have to say, it didn't do much about us breaking out of the sideways range. So we are still seeing volatility on quite historic lows, right? If you see here the Bollinger Bands, so the green moving line here, the red line up there, they are still kind of contracting. We're probably going to see them expand a little bit, but right now we are somewhere there in the middle. The interesting thing here is, if we look at something like the volatility adjusted average true range. So what has been in the past period of X, the average price or the average range of Bitcoin, when you take into account also the volatility. So this is this yellow line here, and you can see this yellow line also acts as actually as a resistance when we are in a bear market. So it's kind of hard to overcome here. Actually, we flipped this one back in January, end of January, where the price flipped below this average true range. Which means then, by definition, that we've entered a bear market. As long as we do not flip over that again, in my opinion, will not really be a change to the bull market. So that's as nice as the pump is today, and it absolutely is. Let's stay patient here, as long as we don't see really breakouts here over at least the upper Bollinger Band. even more better, of course, this average to range. I don't see any reason why I should believe right now that we are in a bull market again, going up to 35 or 40,000 or anything. So the action is still within this range, not so much new. I wish I had better news here. If I look here at my RSI, my alpha RSI, I see that we are also here exactly in the middle right now. So nice to have. Let's see like how today's session is going to be, if like the stock markets are going to lose in the end of their trading session, eyeing especially the USA, which we're going to talk about later. I hope that they are able to maintain the level over 4,000 for the S&P 500 that is. So maybe we are entering into a good weekend. If we look a little bit like longer term here, so this is a Renko chart. Just a quick reminder, Renko chart means like every single one of these little boxes you are seeing is worth 200 points. So whenever Bitcoin moves, for example, up 200 points, you will see a green box like this. So the next green box needs to be even 200 points higher. So this whole move we are seeing here now really has been done just as a matter of fact in a couple of hours, talking about volatility. What this is always good for is it erases kind of the noises you have in candles. So I like to look at this to determine what kind of trend are we in. And also here the same picture, guys. We are still very clearly seeing this is kind of, excuse my crude drawing here now, it's just to visualize things a little bit. We are still very much in a sideways trend, and this is not going to change at least until we break over this zone here of 23.5 to almost 25,000 to be honest there. This system, however, shows there's still a little bit air to the upside left, so we could still actually run here until 21.5, maybe 22,000, until kind of the air becomes a little bit thin again. You can see whenever the RSI here peaks out, like here, for example, you kind of tend to have those peaks here as well. We saw the same here with a double top. We saw the same here. Actually, here we still had a little bit upwards move left. So it's not exactly timing, of course, where the top and bottom are, but it's a pretty good indication for, hey, is this a zone where I should maybe become a little bit less euphoric at the moment, or is there still potential to the upside? So definitely something I'm looking at the daily level. If you have been following my videos for a while, if you've been also a member of our Telegram channel for the Academy, you have seen me posting this chart also a lot, the logarithmic regression. And very interesting here. So the last days, Bitcoin actually broke out to the south, out of this green band, which does not happen very often. The last time we saw that definitely was here when COVID first became imminent for the financial market. So we broke out of this band. We've seen it again now, but we also see how quickly this band was recaptured here really. So that makes me, first of all, pretty optimistic that the regression model still works long term. In order for it to be nullified, by the way, we really would have to stay below this green band for maybe 2, 3, or 4 months. Then I for sure would have to change that system again. But at the moment, it looks like we are recapturing this. However, of course, things can change very quickly. After all, we're talking here about cryptocurrencies, right? Hi, I just saw your question here. Lady Fox, I want to answer that quickly regarding the Renko charts. Very good eye. So you were asking here, if I'm trading 5-second charts. I am actually not. I just have this put to 5 seconds for this Renko system. Remember, every one of those blocks here is $300 up or down movement in Bitcoin. The problem is if you put this to a daily level. So if I put it like this, you will notice here, first of all, the whole picture changes. And you will see here that the upward movement we are seeing a Bitcoin today is in a darker green color than the green boxes you see here. This is because by definition, he would here just measure once a day by the end of the day, where's the Bitcoin price now? if it's like, for example, $1,000 higher, like it is today, then he would really draw those, and then you would also see a reaction down here in the indicator. That means, however, that if we close at this level, the indicator here, the RSI, would jump all the way up to here already. And for sure, if I want to trade a system like this, it would be far too late to enter, right? That's why I let him check on these moves here every 5 seconds. That does not mean that every 5 seconds a new box is drawn, but if the move is large enough, if we are, for example, $300 higher than we were 5 seconds ago, then or that we were here on the last box, he's drawing a new box, which gives me then the opportunity to enter if I wish to trade something like this much earlier. So as a matter of fact, I probably would have entered here. However, I didn't trade this position because it was quite early when the signal came there, and I was still sleeping there. I sometimes do that too. I hope that answers your question. So don't trade 5-second charts, please. The spread, the fees, and everything is too high. You need like a huge technical setup. It's a good, really a great question though. Super appreciate that you have eyes for details like this. Really great. Yeah, so that's it for Bitcoin. We can be slightly optimistic. We are back on track there. However, also no need to be like overly optimistic and now, jump all on board, so to say. It's, in my opinion, not really a sign to, at least for swing trades, trade long. If you want to hodl, of course, it's a different things. When the prices like this probably are very good prices. Let's have a look at Euro US dollar. And we've seen quite an odd move there, especially yesterday. So at first, after the ECB decision at 2:15 CET, that was in the afternoon. I want to switch here to a lower time frame. So that was here where things got a little bit wild. And I back then posted on our Telegram chat, something on our Telegram channel, something that I wanted to do a trade actually on euro dollar, and I said I expect actually that now the rates are a little bit higher, but probably we're going to see an up move with euro dollar. But knowing Christine Lagarde, so the chairman of the ECB, I said usually she is not a very good speaker and she doesn't show a lot of confidence. I expect euro dollar to go lower first, so I entered a short trade actually here at roughly 1.0, went very quickly in our direction also. Then adjusted the stop loss to 0 to break even plus a little bit. Eventually got stopped out there later. I think, let's see here. So you can see it here, sold at 1.00030 and got stopped out then with a tiny little bit of profit. So 365 US dollars. You could have earned also 3,000 on this if you choose the same position size. So these are the things we're talking about very often on the Telegram channel. If you are not a member of this Telegram channel yet, do yourself a favor, click on the link below the video here and join us. It's totally free. I update my thoughts about the markets almost daily. I also every now and then post trade ideas there, such as I did yesterday. I also did that last Friday with a trade also in euro US dollar, which went very profitable for our members of the channel there. But let's continue here with euro US dollar. So if we look here at the daily time frame, like I said, we now have the situation that we have an interest rate of 1.25% in the Eurozone, but we are already almost at 3%, 2.75% in the USA. So it's still more attractive to buy the dollar because you get a higher interest rate than the euro. However, the gap is not as large anymore than it was before yesterday, because that was at 0.5% in the EU. So you had 2.25% more interest rate actually in the USA. And that's why we saw an upwards reaction yesterday in the euro. I expected this one to come a little bit later, however, because it's more attractive now to buy euro. This, however, can change very quickly again, and I expect it to change latest on September 21st, when we are probably going to see the next rate hike in the USA from the Federal Reserve Bank there. When then, especially if it's going to be 0.75%, we have the same status quo like we had 2 days ago still, which probably is going to mean that large institutional investors are continuing to shift their cash into US dollar, driving up the demand for US dollar. That means euro dollar is going down then. So I wouldn't be surprised really to see prices well below 1.0 there in the future. For now, the points we want to watch here, if we go so high, is this upper trend line, so somewhere around 1.03 at the moment. In the meantime, not going to do so much there. This is same here again as a Renko chart. So the same we had in just now also on Bitcoin. I always do those Renko charts because, you know, they are nice in displaying trends. Give me an overview, which says at the moment it's quite neutral. We are bouncing here on the higher trend line now. Just because we go over this trend line doesn't immediately say it triggers a long signal now, by the way. They are just to visualize really what is the current main trend in that asset at the moment. All right, good. Let me quickly see. Here. We have then the S&P 500. And also here, if you've been viewing our Telegram channel there a little bit, the Academy Telegram channel, if you've been watching the video from me, at the moment at least, if I want to trade Bitcoin, if I want to trade cryptocurrencies, it's very important to have an eye on the S&P 500 because Bitcoin, especially to the downside, always tends to copy what the S&P 500 is doing. And I know all those people out there who do chart analysis on Bitcoin, especially on the shorter time frames, they hate me for saying something like this, but it is the truth. If you do yourself a favor, see on a daily level when the USA comes in with a stock market, what Bitcoin is doing, you will see it's really almost moving at one line together. So it's important to have that at the moment to analyze the stock market as well, to have an opinion on the crypto markets. This might change over time, will for sure also change in the next bull market again. But however, this is the truth at the moment. And what we are seeing here on the shorter time frame, the daily chart here, is that we broke, if you remember, I had a long position here, which I adjusted to break even. When we came back into this range here, let me get the drawing tool here really quickly. When we went back into this range here, then we massively broke out to the downside. Now, what a typical move would be from this onwards would be if the market, and I think we have this nice path tool here. If a market would go up for a bit again, maybe into this zone, maybe even up to this trend line here. So somewhere there. And then we would see some motion like this leading us further down into this area, which I call my soft landing target. More on that later, because that would also mean that the S&P 500 still is listening to the downtrend, at least the shorter time frame downtrend it is in at the moment, which is always downtrend defined by lower highs and lower lows. And we very well see here, this is exactly what we've been having. We had the high here, we had a lower high here, next lower high here. So it would only be logic to see a next lower high somewhere here, right? Things could change if we break out of this. So over here, let's say 4,300 points. And I think at the moment, this is the most likely scenario because we are going to see this rate hike again in the USA, which is going to probably put pressure on the market because with rising interest rates, you know, when you can get 3.5% per year risk-free, so to say, you as an institutional investor, you think twice about putting your money at risk into the stock market. Better take 3.5% and be on the safe side than having on average 7%, but with a lot of downside risk. This is how institutional investors, so pension fund managers, all the big guys out there that have billions of dollars that they have to manage for clients are thinking. And I think this might be a possible scenario because we still should see this election pattern out that I was talking about also for a while now. So just to give you a quick summary, what I noticed is that the stock market, the US stock market, has been behaving very much the same after the election of Donald Trump, for the first 2 years, that is, and after the election of Joe Biden. So we've seen this upswing since the day of election, 440 days here with Donald Trump, a little tiny bit less than 444 days for Joe Biden, and then this downswing. And if you see how the patterns here look, you know, especially this one, which would be this here, they eerily look the same. So it could be possible that we are still seeing another downswing here. So that under Trump was this low here, and under Biden, sorry, it would mean this low here, which should be somewhere in the beginning of December. So this is still a possibility. This fits very good into the narrative we are seeing right now here also from the stock markets. So to maybe make this lower high again and then see a slump to the downside. I don't know what might cause this, if it's really just interest rates hikes, or if it's going to be a tightening situation war-wise, or something with Taiwan, China, and so on. I mean, let's hope it's not going to be something like this, but the likelihood is really, really there. And long-term, really, if you're interested in that view, I noticed that whenever we hit peak inflation on the stock markets, we tend to also see kind of the bottom of the stock market. So this goes all the way back to the 1970s. You know, whenever inflation peaked out, we also saw that the stock markets was maybe not completely at its low, but at least close to the low. And I'm getting a little bit optimistic here because I saw that inflation peak down. So we saw inflation still being very high, but going down from over 9%, 9.1% in the USA, that is, to 8.5% last time. Next week, Tuesday, we are going to have an update on this number. So this is going to be really probably one of the most important economic numbers you've seen so far this year. I'll go into details there after finishing talking about this chart here. So the likelihood of seeing kind of the bottom, or at least a movement close to the bottom, is very high, historically speaking, when we came from those high, slowly down from this high area of inflation, with an exception here in 2008. But there we had the banking crisis, so maybe things were a little bit different. However, inflation, you see, came dropping down like crazy, very, very fast. Actually, we had a short period of deflation there, a negative inflation, so to say. So yeah, we still might see the stock market ticking down a little bit. But as you can see, we've also come a little bit from the lows here already. Yeah, talking about the economic calendar, I just said interest rate decision of the ECB was by far the most important event today, this week. Today, not so many really important numbers, in my opinion. We had the inflation rate year over year in China with 2.5%. I honestly have a very, very hard time believing this number. And this is also one of the reasons why I always refuse to really engage myself in Chinese assets, be it the currency, be it stocks, and so on and so forth, because I just cannot believe statistical data like this. But it's so different than anything we are seeing in the rest of the world, especially considering the massive lockdowns we are still seeing in China, right? So let's have a look at the next 7 days, what is going to influence the markets there economic-wise. And it's important to have an eye on those numbers, because the markets, no matter if we're talking about stocks, if we're talking about Forex, if we're talking about cryptocurrencies, they are hugely driven at the moment by economic numbers. And by far the most important we are going to see there is the inflation rate in the USA. So this inflation rate year over year for August, I don't have a forecast yet. previous one was 8.5%. If this one should really be below 8.5%, and my favorite scenario really would be here something like 7.8%, or maybe even just 8%, this for me would be a huge, huge sign that really we are seeing inflation coming down slowly, and that maybe we are going to see still this quite massive downtick in the stock market here. So we are still talking here about, what is that, like 30%? No, that's not true, actually. Sorry, 15, 20% of a downswing there. But at least it's not going to be, like a lot of other people, especially on social media out there, are expecting that we are going to see this huge, huge crash and everything, is going to be in shambles. I do not believe it. I believe that times like this are a huge chance to position yourself slowly and get cheap prices. I, of course, also do not know where the lows are going to be. Nobody's going to know that. But be careful not to listen too much to those crash prophets out there, if you know what I'm talking about. So 13th of December, for sure, I'm going to feature this also very heavy on our Telegram channel. I think it's probably, at least for me, it is the most important economic number so far we've seen in 2022, because it's giving so much indication about whether we are going to see declining prices on the stock market further, or if we really found the bottom. And if we found the bottom, we also probably have found it in Bitcoin or the cryptocurrency market as a whole, which also would underpin my theory at the moment that I said, I do not think we are going to see much of a massive upswing in cryptocurrencies until earliest November 2022. I mean, which is also not that far away anymore. On another note, news outside the economic sphere, one thing I stumbled upon was this news here: a BTC, Bitcoin mining pool called Poolin, suspends wallet withdrawals in bid to stabilize liquidity. I expected this to become much more of a FUD, to be honest, because this pool holds a hash rate, or held a hash rate, I should say, of 10% in Bitcoin mining. And for me, that shows again that you have to be careful, even as a miner, which pool you select to work with. Now, a pool is basically, if you are a single miner out there with the difficulty mining Bitcoin at the moment, it's probably almost impossible that you will ever find a block. And of course, you will only earn money if you find a block. Then you get the block reward of 6.25 Bitcoin. And so if you're more a small scale miner, small scale really is meant here also if you invested hundreds of thousands of US dollars into mining equipment by now, you can pool together with other miners to have a higher chance finding a new block and then sharing the block rewards. And so this is done by those pools. And interestingly enough, now this pool, it's actually a Chinese pool. I was surprised to hear that. I thought mining was banned in China. And said, we are having a liquidity crisis. Yeah, we are suspending withdrawals. So if you mine some Bitcoin with them, maybe you want to withdraw them, or Ethereum. Of course, Bitcoin is not the only thing they are mining there. Suddenly you cannot get your funds anymore. And that, for me, poses the question, what is this pool doing? It sounds like, it took the money of the mined assets and somehow invested it back into the market, maybe even with leverage. And maybe they misspeculated on their position there, and now are sitting on losses and cannot give the money back to their members of the mining pool. But it shows already that a lot of miners are changing their pool. So probably Poolin over the course of the next weeks is going to massively lose on hash rate. We are going to see other pools increase in hash rate. So the system is going to balance out again. But I was surprised. I was under the impression, if I run a mining pool, every Bitcoin I mine goes equally, or goes by percentage distributed to the members that help mining this block and getting those Bitcoins. So I stand corrected and have to correct my opinion on that. All right, good. Let's see if we have any questions. I have Lady Fox with another question here. Do you have a co-vesting strategy on Prime XBT? I do not, and I actually do not because I don't want to. or because that is not a possibility, it is due to regulatory reasons, because that would put me in a conflict of interest. I cannot do videos about the market where I talk about where I think the market is going to move, and then offer a strategy, maybe even advertise a strategy on these videos. This is something you cannot do. You cannot be on two sides of a spectrum. However, I think there are a lot of other people out there that run really, really good trading strategy, co-vesting strategy that you will be able to follow. Maybe not always look, at the top 10, filter for somebody there that has been operating for a bit longer and has shown maybe over the course of the last year or even 2 years that he or she was able to earn money. All right, if we don't have any other questions, then that's it today. For today, as a reminder again, underneath the video, you will find all the links you need to, first of all, start trading on your own. You will find a link to open a free account with Prime XPT. You will find 2 promo codes also that you can use to get a nice bonus on your deposit up to $7,000 US. You will find a link to our brand new Telegram channel, which I highly encourage you to join. As a matter of fact, what I want to show you also, we are starting on Monday our very first Prime XPT Trading Academy Telegram trading contest. And in order to join that, you will find the password, because you need a password to join it, because it's really for our Telegram community, also on the Telegram channel. We originally had 250 seats only available. Those were gone within a couple of minutes, so we upped that now to 500. You still have a chance to join there. You also have the chance here to win, if you make first place, $1,000 tokens for your trading account to trade with, and prizes go all the way down to place 10. So actually not the worst chance to win, really. A little bit of extra money in a competition like this. I'm of course going to monitor this whole thing, going to report on that crypto show the upcoming week about who's in front, who's not, who's catching up to the leader, and so on and so forth. And if you are performing extremely well on this trading contest, I will of course invite you also to that crypto show, so we can both talk a little bit about the markets. Okay, everybody, have a good weekend ahead, and see you again early next week or on Telegram. It was a pleasure talking to you today. I think we should do this more often like this. And yeah, have a good weekend. And